Everything you think was lost is actually stored in divine archives waiting. Heaven doesn't erase dangerous truth, it preserves it for the right moment. What if forbidden knowledge wasn't destroyed, but locked until humanity was ready? There are storehouses between realms holding truth too powerful for now but necessary. This chapter reveals why some revelations wait centuries before they're finally understood clearly.
Chapter 18 of the Book of Enoch completes a long and carefully constructed arc of explanation that has been building systematically throughout this entire text. After rebellion was judged with absolute finality, after access was permanently revoked without possibility of restoration, after consequences were deliberately released into the world with divine purpose, and after influence was thoroughly explained through Enoch's visions, one profound question remains unanswered, hanging in the air, demanding resolution. Why does knowledge survive at all in any form? If corruption is genuinely dangerous to humanity's well-being and survival, if forbidden knowledge nearly destroyed creation itself through the Watcher's teaching, if the information they shared caused violence to fill the earth and threatened to eliminate humanity completely, why does heaven preserve testimony instead of simply eliminating it completely from existence? Why not erase every trace so future generations never encounter it, never stumble upon it, never face temptation from it again? If the Watcher's teaching was so destructive in its impact, why not remove all memory of what occurred? Why not whitewash history and start fresh? Why preserve what could potentially harm future generations if discovered and misused? This chapter answers these penetrating questions with stunning clarity and profound wisdom. Heaven does not govern reality by erasing history or whitewashing the historical record to make things appear better than they were. It does not operate through denial or suppression of uncomfortable truth. It governs by preserving truth within carefully maintained boundaries, by keeping accurate and complete accounts of everything that occurs, by storing knowledge until the proper time for revelation arrives when it can be received safely. This chapter is not about secrets meant to deceive people or manipulate them through selective disclosure. It is not about propaganda or controlling narratives. It is about responsible stewardship of dangerous truth that must be handled with wisdom. Enoch is shown storehouses in this vision, magnificent divine treasuries containing natural forces, wind that shapes weather patterns, snow that blankets landscapes, hail that falls from clouds, mist that rises from waters, and light that illuminates creation. These are not prisons where things are punished for crimes they committed. They are reserves where things are kept for future use. They represent containment with specific purpose, timing governed by wisdom, and control exercised with mercy toward creation. Nothing is carelessly lost in these storehouses. Everything is meticulously accounted for in heaven's perfect records. Every element is cataloged. Every force is measured. Every resource is tracked with precision.
What is preserved is what will be needed later.
Enoch sees foundations and cornerstones again in this chapter, powerful imagery that appeared in his earlier visions. This repetition is not accidental or the result of lazy writing that recycles previous material. This repetition is intentional and carries significant meaning. Preservation requires structure to function properly. Truth cannot survive in chaos or disorder. It requires order to hold it securely, framework to protect it from corruption, foundation to anchor it across vast spans of time. Drop a comment if you're seeing how preservation fundamentally differs from suppression. Tell me what's standing out to you most clearly in this teaching. Chapter 18 mirrors earlier chapters deliberately and strategically in its structure and themes. Where rebellion sought to expose forbidden knowledge prematurely before humanity had developed capacity to handle it safely, forcing revelation before people were ready to receive it wisely, preservation seals knowledge carefully until the proper appointed time arrives when context exists for understanding. This represents a fundamental difference in approach that reveals character. This is the critical difference between legitimate revelation that comes from heaven and destructive corruption that comes from rebellion.
Timing determines truth's impact on those who receive it.
The chapter introduces striking visual images of pillars of fire that exist in places that are neither heaven nor earth, suspended between realms and transitional spaces. These places exist between domains and dimensions, not as locations of punishment where beings suffer for crimes, but as positions of guardianship and faithful stewardship. Knowledge is held there carefully and securely, not unleashed carelessly without regard for consequences. This teaching destroys a persistent myth that has damaged many people's understanding, that heaven fears knowledge itself. Heaven does not fear knowledge. Knowledge is not the enemy. Heaven fears misuse of knowledge by those unprepared to handle it responsibly, by those who lack the character to steward it wisely. Truth mishandled and released prematurely becomes destruction that devastates individuals, cultures, and entire civilizations. Truth preserved carefully and released appropriately becomes guidance that saves, wisdom that protects, knowledge that empowers rather than destroys. The 7 stars bound together that Enoch witnesses in this vision represent divine restraint exercised with clear purpose. This is not annihilation that destroys completely and removes from existence. This is not forgetting that erases from memory as if events never occurred. Binding is fundamentally not the same operation as erasing. It is strategic delaying until conditions change, until context develops, until readiness arrives. Chapter 18 reframes our entire understanding of divine restraint in powerful and liberating ways. Restraint is not suppression born of fear or insecurity about truth getting out. It is not control motivated by desire to manipulate or dominate. It is protection born of love and wisdom, motivated by desire to preserve both truth and those who might be destroyed by premature access.
Preservation is responsibility, not secrecy or fear of exposure.
This chapter also explains with precision why texts like the Book of Enoch itself survive in fragments scattered across traditions, debated intensely by scholars with different perspectives, guarded carefully by various communities, and contested vigorously by religious authorities. Not all truth is meant for all times indiscriminately without regard for context. Some testimony is specifically preserved for future generations who will desperately need it, when their circumstances finally give them the framework to understand it properly without being destroyed by it. Hit like if this is fundamentally reshaping how you understand lost scriptures and ancient texts. It helps others discover this perspective. Preserved knowledge acts like a witness in a legal proceeding who sits silently until called. It stands quietly in the archives, patiently waiting until circumstances demand its voice, until the court is ready to hear testimony without prejudice, until the moment arrives when it can be understood and applied without causing more harm than good to those who receive it. The storehouses Enoch sees throughout this vision are deeply symbolic of divine memory that never fails or fades. Heaven does not forget anything that occurs. It archives everything with perfect accuracy and complete detail. What humanity confidently calls lost, with finality, is often simply stored in places we cannot currently access, sealed away and waiting patiently for the appointed time when revelation serves purpose rather than destruction. A critical modern misunderstanding pervades contemporary thinking in ways that damage proper understanding. The assumption that if knowledge exists anywhere in any form, it must be immediately accessible to everyone without restriction. Chapter 18 explicitly rejects this democratization of all knowledge without distinction. Some knowledge requires spiritual preparation to receive safely without being destroyed by it. Access to certain profound truths is earned through spiritual alignment developed over time, through maturity that comes from experience, through readiness that takes years or even decades to develop properly. The pillars of fire that exist neither in heaven nor on earth, suspended between realms, represent transitional guardianship of dangerous truth that requires special handling, knowledge that is too valuable and important to destroy completely, yet simultaneously too dangerous and powerful to release freely without restriction, is held in these intermediate places under careful watch by faithful guardians. This apparent paradox is actually mercy in operation, not cruelty designed to withhold good things from people. It protects both the knowledge itself from corruption and those who might be utterly destroyed by premature access before character can handle power.
Not everything hidden is withheld forever without purpose or good reason.
Rebellion sought to accelerate humanity beyond its readiness in destructive ways, to force growth before foundation was established to support it, to give power before character could handle it responsibly. Preservation restores patience to the developmental process, respecting the necessary pace of human maturity that cannot be rushed without devastating consequences. This chapter teaches that endurance itself is a form of wisdom that cannot be rushed or shortcut. Maturity takes time to develop properly. Understanding develops gradually through experience. Some truths require years or even entire generations of context before they can be received properly without destroying the receiver. Truth does not decay in storage like perishable goods that have expiration dates. It matures like fine wine in a cellar, becoming more valuable with time, developing depth and complexity that immediate consumption could never provide. Subscribe to keep exploring why some truths wait patiently for their moment. This journey continues going deeper into mysteries. The darkness Enoch sees in certain places throughout this vision is not ignorance that blinds people to reality. It is containment that shields vulnerable things. Darkness in this context functions as protective covering like a vault, not as evil that corrupts what it touches. Chapter 18 prepares readers systematically for prophetic unfolding throughout the rest of Scripture in both Old and New Testaments. Preserved knowledge will reappear at precise moments when history reaches the exact point where it can be understood without destroying the listener, where context finally exists to make sense of what was previously incomprehensible without proper framework. This dynamic explains why prophecy often sounds impossibly unclear and confusing until after it has been fulfilled by events. The words were preserved accurately across centuries, but understanding was deliberately delayed until circumstances gave them meaning that made sense within lived experience.
Preserved truth waits patiently for context to arrive.
The binding of the 7 stars signals a cosmic pause in certain processes that were operating. Forces that once actively disrupted order and caused chaos are restrained from continuing their destructive work, but not eliminated from existence completely. Their testimony remains preserved in the historical record, but their active influence does not continue unchecked, causing ongoing damage. This chapter quietly but powerfully restores confidence to those who understand its message properly. The universe is not leaking chaos uncontrollably into creation. Reality is not spiraling into disorder without any governing hand. Everything is managed with precision by divine wisdom that sees across all time, past, and future simultaneously. Preservation ensures accountability that cannot be escaped or denied. When truth survives intact across generations without corruption, history cannot deny responsibility for what occurred. No one can legitimately claim events never happened or were fundamentally different than what was recorded by faithful witnesses. Nothing is erased from the record to make anyone look better. Everything is documented with precision and accuracy. Every action is recorded without bias. Every choice is preserved exactly as it occurred. This is why testimony matters so profoundly in divine economy. This is why witnesses are essential to justice. This is why the book you're studying right now exists and was preserved across millennia. This chapter also explains why Enoch's specific role throughout this entire text is that of a scribe, rather than other possible roles he could have filled. He is not a reformer who changes existing systems through force. He is not a judge who pronounces verdicts on the guilty. He is a witness who records truth accurately without adding personal interpretation or bias. Witnesses preserve truth for future courts that will need accurate testimony to render just verdicts on matters being judged. Humanity consistently confuses silence with absence in troubling ways, mistaking God's quietness for God's distance or disinterest in human affairs. Chapter 18 corrects that fundamental error with clarity. Silence often means safekeeping rather than abandonment. Quietness often signals that something valuable is being protected with intentional care.
Silence is sometimes a vault protecting precious treasure.
The chapter closes not with fear about hidden things lurking in shadows, but with profound reassurance about divine control over all things. Heaven has not lost control of dangerous knowledge through carelessness. Knowledge has not escaped divine custody through rebellion or accident. Truth has not been corrupted beyond recovery or recognition, despite attacks against it. Everything necessary for eventual restoration has been carefully preserved in divine storehouses where it cannot be touched by corruption. This chapter stands as a promise to all who read it with understanding hearts. What was broken by rebellion will be addressed at the proper time when repair becomes possible. What was hidden for protection will be revealed when safety allows without destroying recipients. What was preserved through the ages will be understood when context arrives to give it meaning, but not yet. Not until the appointed time arrives. Not before readiness exists in those who will receive it. Timing governs revelation, according to divine wisdom that sees all possible outcomes across all potential timelines. Chapter 18 teaches patience that trusts God's perfect timing, trust that believes firmly in divine wisdom, and stewardship that respects boundaries not as arbitrary limits designed to frustrate, but as essential safeguards, protecting both truth and those who might mishandle it prematurely. Preserved truth will outlast corruption every single time without exception. Lies decay over time. Truth endures across centuries. Deception crumbles under examination. Reality remains constant. And when the time finally comes, when circumstances align perfectly, when context exists to give meaning, preserved truth will speak with unmistakable clarity to those who have ears to hear and hearts to receive. You made it through one of the most hopeful chapters in the entire Book of Enoch. Most people miss this completely because they're looking for drama and judgment instead of structure and wisdom. If this resonated with where you are in your journey right now, comment "Truth outlasts lies" and let me know you're tracking with this material. Another chapter waits ahead that moves us into cosmic geography and prophetic vision that expands understanding. Click it and stay on this path with me. I'll meet you there.
Walk with me forward. Preservation explains why truth survives history.